Listen, if you are confused, I don't blame you. Let me tell you why I don't blame you. When you look at the S&P 500, the S&P 500 is, again, out of the channel and breaking all-time highs, and again in the green today. And then if you look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin has broken down and is back in that bear flag channel. Now, one of these assets is telling the truth. One of them is not telling the truth. One of them is telling the truth about what is to come, and one of them is not telling the truth about what is to come. I like this tweet by 𝗙𝗘𝗔𝗧𝗨𝗥𝗘𝗗 because he says, Bitcoin is the most honest macro asset in its design. It serves as a forward-looking mirror. I wonder all the time about what it's trying to tell us about what lies ahead. And I think what he means is that we know that the S&P is currently overstretched. We know that there's a lot, that the S&P is currently very much being pumped. We know that that's also being pumped by the fact that Trump is in China and the positive headlines keep coming out. At the same time, what he's saying is that while the S&P is at its all-time highs, Bitcoin is telling us the truth about the future. And I think we need to talk about that, because if you look at what Peter Brandt's saying, Peter Brandt's basically saying, look, Bitcoin hasn't actually put in a bottom yet. He says, in fact, let me read it for you. He says, a recognizable bottom has not been completed in Bitcoin. A possible bear channel exists from the fair blow, price being repealed from the upper boundary. A close below 79,145 would indicate a retreat into the midpoint and then back into the lower boundary. So something changed in the last 24 hours. I'll show you what it is, but something did change in Bitcoin in the last 24 hours. And we went from a much more bullish outlook to potentially a much more cautious outlook, maybe even a bearish outlook. And that's what I want to address on today's show. So, welcome, Hardest, welcome. Mumo, welcome. Casper, welcome. J-Dog, welcome. Joanne, welcome again. Nice to have you back. Joanne last time bought us the bull market. Neptune, welcome. Welcome to everyone. Let's get the show on the road, guys. I'm not even going to say wakey, wakey, rise and shine, because it's not wakey, wakey, rise and shine. We're just going to get straight into the alpha of the day. Trump is in China. We've got a markup of the Clarity Bill, a Clarity Act coming, happening today in exactly an hour. In exactly an hour. You got Bitcoin trading at 79,912, ETH at $2,260, Solana at over $91. And as I said earlier, something changed last night in the Bitcoin chart structure, and it's becoming very, 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 very confusing. You want to know why it's becoming confusing? I've got a great idea for you. Get us to 200 likes, and then I'll tell you why. Because it is confusing, and there's a lot to talk about. And I'll show you what changed in the chart structure. But for that to happen, we need 200 likes, and we've got 86. So I'll just drink my water. I drink a lot on the shows. I really do. I drink a lot. And it's water. It's not even like real drinks. Not even real drinks. All right, so while you guys are smashing up the likes, I'll show you exactly what happened in the last 24 hours. In the last 24 hours, S&P is absolutely screeching, all-time highs. Someone actually texted me, said, I like twice. It's from Mauritius. It's one of our viewers. If you look at what's driving that, I mean, it's no big secret as to what's driving that. It's AI and shares like Nvidia. Nvidia, the reason why Nvidia is running today, again, I mean, this company market cap must be, it's $5.5 trillion. And why is because they're now allowed to sell chips to a whole lot of pre-selected Chinese companies, which is part of what's coming out of the Trump's trip to China, which we'll talk about. But as I said to you, in the meantime, for Bitcoin, it's not looking so good. So when I look at the Bitcoin chart, the first thing is, remember I said to you, I wanted 2 weekly closes above the flag. We had 1 weekly close above the flag, but now, as you can see, we're here in the flag again. And as Peter Brandt says, he says, we're in that dangerous channel again. We're back into that dangerous channel. Now, I said to you that I've got to lean bearish unless and until unless we break out of this bear flag and we continue the trend upwards, right? The problem is that, as I see it now, not only are we back in the bear flag, but the RSI is also bringing some bad news with it. The RSI is the momentum indicator, right? And the momentum indicator has basically told us that the momentum has started to turn. So if you look at the RSI over here, and I'm sure you guys can see it, it's a purple line over here, and you draw a little trend line over here, what you can see is, I'm going to draw a rough trend line over here, but what you can see is on the daily, the RSI is basically broken down. So when you take the fact that we're back in the bear flag, the fact that we are back, the RSI or the sentiment or the momentum has basically turned right now. and the uptrend of the RSI is broken. What you can basically say is that if you look at the RSI has been in an uptrend for the last 3 months. Bitcoin's been in an uptrend for the last 3 months. And now there is a risk that that's starting to break down. The RSI coupled with this bear flag make it quite a dangerous pattern, unfortunately. And the reason why it makes it such a dangerous pattern is because if you look at the basics are telling you that for the first time in quite a while, Bitcoin actually put in a lower high. Let me see if I can actually find it for you. So there we go. As you can see, instead of getting a higher high on Bitcoin, we got a lower high on Bitcoin. Okay, so that's the first thing. On the 4-hour chart, we got the first lower high and the first lower low. At the same time, the RSIs have basically broken a pattern over here. And so there is a chance that the 3-month uptrend that we basically have on Bitcoin is starting to break down, which unfortunately would be the same as most other bear markets, right? And when I say the same as most other bear markets, if you look at the 200-day SMA, which is this one over here, let's just see if we can get it onto our chart over here. Okay, so that's a 200 SMA. You can see we just kissed the 200 SMA and then we broke down, which, by the way, is exactly the same thing that we've done in every single other bear market. So you can see in the other bear markets, we did it over here. We did it over here as well. So it is quite a dangerous pattern. And that's why I'm saying that in the last 24 hours, something actually changed in the Bitcoin structure. Now, that's what happened on the charts. Again, the charts will tell you the news. So you got to just listen to the charts. Nothing else really matters except the charts. We can find the narrative to feed the charts. And I'll show you what I think the narrative is and why it's not actually working, right? The narrative, the charts are the only thing that matters. But as a fundamentalist, you've got to try and find the narrative to feed into the chart. So I did some digging and I looked at the data, and I can tell you exactly why I think that the market isn't running this week, right? In order to answer that question, you're going to go to say to yourself, well, hold on a second, what was it last week that actually made the market run, right? Remember, last week we actually had a very good week. That's the daily. And that was last week. And last week we got the daily very, very high. In fact, unnaturally high. You'll remember we spoke about this and I said, the daily is unnaturally high. And the reason why the daily was unnaturally high is because there was one buyer in the market, and that buyer was Michael Saylor, right? Michael Saylor, well, I told you it wasn't Michael Saylor. It was the preemptive trade to Michael Saylor. So what people were trying to do is they were trying to front run Michael Saylor's trades, right? Why were they trying to front run Michael Saylor's trades? Because if you look at the charts and you look at the STRC price, you can see that in the past, when STRC hit 100, which is when Saylor can start selling more STRC shares, he had a lot of days to sell those shares, right? So like in March, in the last time, he had from the 25th of March to the 15th of April. In the one before that, he had from the 25th of Feb till the 15th of March, right? This time, he's got only, STRC only hit 100 on the 11th of May. Now remember, on the 15th of May, anyone who's holding STRC before the 15th of May gets the dividend, and anyone who isn't doesn't get the dividend, right? So he can only raise money until the 15th of May. Now today is the 14th of May. He's got one more day to raise. So he's only had this month, he only had 4 days to actually raise money. And so what happened? Well, what happened was a double whammy, right? People for the first time anticipated the Saylor buys, and they bought ahead of the Saylor buy to sell after Saylor buys. However, this time, he only started buying later, therefore he started buying less, and therefore all those people are now trying to exit the trade. And so what you can see right now is that, or if you look at the Coinbase premium, now remember, what the Coinbase premium is showing us is it is showing us what the price of a Bitcoin is on Coinbase relative to the rest of the market. When there's more demand in the United States, the Coinbase premium goes up. And when there's less demand in the United States, then the Coinbase premium goes down. This is people running for the doors and trying to exit their positions. Who are these people? I assume that these are the same people that bought Bitcoin here, trying to front run Saylor's trades. Now, what I said to you was very simple. If Saylor could buy enough Bitcoin to close us over the bear flag for multiple weeks, and I said I used 2 as the baseline for multiple, then we can comfortably say that maybe Saylor's trading us out of the bear market. But it looks like, unfortunately, he didn't have the vigor to actually do it. So what happens now? Effectively, what happens now is we wait to see what happens on the weekly close. I must say, on the 4-hour and on the daily, the chart structure doesn't look good. I wouldn't be buying Bitcoin now. Not sure that I would be shorting Bitcoin quite yet, but there is a chance that Bitcoin actually follows a pattern and does something like this, right? There's a chance that Bitcoin basically does this, and then either stops somewhere halfway into this pattern over here, which is Peter Brand says, or actually goes all the way down over time to 71,000 and 72,000. That's what Bitcoin is doing at the moment. I told Andre that I would mention, it was Shubham. Well, Andre and Shubham, I told them I would mention that they did post a very, very, very good post on Frontrunners. Actually, it was Andre who I promised, and I'm actually showing Shubham's post. There's a lot of these posts in Frontrunners. That's where we stay in touch with our community. You guys know that. I've also told you that you've got until Friday to sign up at a 50% rate. And if you're a returning member, then you've got until Friday to sign up for free. So you know what the story is. Let's look at the other side of the coin. So remember, one of these markets is honest, and one of these markets is not being honest. It's as simple as that. And when we say honest about the future, right? Chris says Bitcoin is the one that's honest about the future. I don't know who's honest about the future. Maybe this AI thing isn't a bubble, because maybe it is. Because right now AI is the only thing that's driving the American stock market. I want to show you quite a good chart, continuing with our coverage on our chart of yesterday, right? Remember, I showed you yesterday that there's a bull market in the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is broken out of this 10-year upward channel. And what you know is that this entire thing is being driven by AI. We know this because if you take two versions of the AI, of the S&P 500, one of them includes the AI stocks, and one of them doesn't include the AI stocks. That's what the chart basically looks like. So you can see that this blow-off top is being powered by AI. And you can actually see it in charts like, I'll show you some charts just so you can see what an AI revolution looks like. So that is the Nvidia chart. Imagine having bought Nvidia at $12. That would have been absolutely amazing. It wasn't so long ago. And then if you look at, for example, ScanDisk, right? And actually, one way to do it is to go to the Banter bubbles. And I don't know if you guys know this, you click on stocks, and then you can look at the 1-year return of stocks. Now, you can see here, stocks like Nvidia, stocks like Intel, stocks like Micron, stocks like ScanDisk, stocks like AMD, okay? These stocks have all had massive, massive, massive returns. I mean, I don't know any altcoin that actually has any substance behind it that actually has done the same returns as these stocks are doing. And so it's a double whammy for crypto, because I don't need to go to crypto. If I can get a 32x on ScanDisk, and if I can get a 5x on these companies, or 3x on AMD, where I can actually get returns, what the hell do I need to come to crypto for? And that's why right now crypto isn't doing very well. The reason why Nvidia is running, and I did say this in the beginning of the show, the reason why Nvidia actually had a run last night is because, you know, Jensen Huang was picked up from Alaska in the presidential plane. He went to China in the presidential plane, and they overnight secured a $20 billion of new revenue from Alibaba, 𝗙𝗘𝗃𝗏 in the chips, the H200 chips, right? So they actually, remember that there was a restriction on selling H200 chips to China, and it looks like there's an easing of that restriction. We'll cover that in a second. What has that done to Nvidia? I mean, believe it or not, this is a crazy, crazy, crazy story. It's obviously the biggest single asset in the world, right? Like, you can say, yes, gold is higher, but gold is a commodity. It's one stock is bigger than silver and nearly the size of gold. Holy shit! Look at this, Lourie Sykes. Lourie Sykes bought Nvidia at 568. Lourie, please tell me you're still holding. Please just tell me you're still holding. I actually put a sell order for some of my AMD today, just a little bit, just to take some profits. I did that. All right, so that is why Nvidia is running. And again, I say to you, the problem that I have here is that one of them is telling the truth. I know the stock market's overheated, the RSIs are overheated, the chart's telling you the truth. I really hope that we can get a pump in Bitcoin and reverse this trend. I don't think we will, though. I wish I could say to you that I think we will, but I think the probability is about 80% that we won't and 20% that we will. Unfortunately, I say that very, very, very unfortunately. And if we do go down in Bitcoin, I mean, I guess you guys know where this thing goes. Right now, not a time to be getting into Bitcoin. I don't think that I would be taking the trade to get in. If anything, I wouldn't be shorting, but I'd be looking to close off any positions. She's holding them. Holy shit, Lourie, maybe you should be running the show. I think Lourie Sykes tomorrow on the show, doing the Banter show, talking about tech stocks. That's what I think. Master trade. She's a master trader. Let's talk about China. What a spectacle. What a spectacle. They are playing Trump like a flute. I mean, these guys are playing Trump like absolute crazy, right? So he arrived there, red carpet. He's being treated like absolute royalty. You know, that's exactly what Trump loves. Okay, so they have that, and then they're having a massive banquet, obviously, for Trump, and you know, him and Xi are basically there. It's very, very, very important to kind of look around and say, like, what's actually being said there, and it's two very, very, very different tones, right? Trump is calling Xi a friend. Trump's going there with his very much charming self. In fact, I'll play you two clips, and I think it'll give you an idea of exactly what it sounds like and what it looks like there.
应当做伙伴而不是对手，相互成就，共同繁荣，走出一条新时代大国正确相处之道。世界走到新的十字路口，中美两国能不能跨越所谓的修昔底德陷阱？
We've had a fantastic relationship. We've gotten along. When there were difficulties, we worked it out. And I just want to say, on behalf of all of the great delegation that we have the greatest businessmen, the biggest, and they're all with me. Every single one of them, and they're here today to pay respects to you and to China. And they look forward to trade and doing business, and it's going to be.
So that is the tone. But I think it's super important that you just listen to the first minute or so of Xi Jinping's speech, because I think it sets a tone. I won't make you listen to the full 5 minutes, but definitely worth listening to the tone here.
President Trump, I'm very pleased to meet you in Beijing. Welcome back to China after 9 years. The whole world is watching our meeting. Currently, transformation not seen in a century is accelerating across the globe, and the international situation is fluid and turbulent. The world has come to a new crossroads. Can China and the United States overcome the Thucydides trap and create a new paradigm of major country relations? Can we meet global challenges together and provide more stability for the world? Can we, in the interests of the well-being of our two peoples and the future of humanity, build a brighter future together for our bilateral relations? These are the questions vital to history.
So that is the tone. The tone is, from him, is a much more serious, we're here to do business. We want to change the dynamics of the world. Let's talk about what we think that they've achieved so far, right? Now, when I say what we think, because I think a lot more is going to come out in the next 24 hours. I think a lot of these deals were actually done before, and we're only hearing the results of it now. Or the groundwork for the deals was actually done. I don't think that they walked in yesterday. And as Richard Saylor says, Jensen there to secure H200 orders, which will push Nvidia to 10 trillion. Yes, but I don't think he just arrived there and started taking orders. I think that the groundwork and the meetings were all done before, and now they're just finalizing them, and they're kind of like, they're doing it, as a coordinated pump to the market. So this is like the coordinated pump that happened on Zcash. This is like the one for the market. Like, for Zcash, it was like Mert and the Winklevoss brothers and Barry Silbert and a whole lot of others. And now for the market, it's like Jensen Huang and like Tim Cook, and like, it's the same shit, man. It's the same shit. Anyway, let's talk about what they're talking, what we think's happening there. One, on Iran, they're giving the US, they both agree that Iran can't have nuclear weapons. And the US, anything Trump needs to basically finish the war, China is willing to give him. They're also talking about buying more soya beans, more US oil, because they can't get oil from the Gulf. They're going to get US oil, more LNG gas, and then buy 200 more Boeing jets. So he is getting big trade deals. Now, in return, Trump's talking about reducing tariffs for these guys, right? So he's basically saying, look, if you do all of that, we will reduce tariffs on some of the imports, right? Which is quite a big thing. So Xi to wait tariff cuts on 30 billion of imports in managed trade, right? So they're talking about managing and discussing these tariffs. The sticking point is going to be Taiwan. And what you can see is that Trump's really avoiding any talks on Taiwan.
Appearing to pose for a photo here.
Let's listen in.
talk about Taiwan, Mr. President?
No answer. Taiwan is the elephant in the room, right? Taiwan is the elephant in the room, and I think they're trying to avoid any talk on Taiwan. There is also, I mean, I read this theory. I don't know how true this is. Why did all these powerful people to go with Trump to kneel in China? The answer is access to rare material. And they're talking about rare earth materials. The reality is that Tesla, Boeing, Apple, GE, all others need China, while Boeing structurally needs them less and less. China control 70% of the global extraction, 85% of the refining, and 90% of the permanent magnets, and 99% of the dysprosium and terbium, without which no F-35 fighter can take off. No MRI machine works, and no iPhone starts up. So it's these rare earth minerals, and it seems like they're going to do some deals around the rare earth minerals. One of the I think the more amusing parts, or like more the human side of this China trip is, we all like look at these billionaires, and for most of us they're very far away from us and they're almost not human. These state visits, and then there's like one of them who's in my mind like the autistic billionaire, and he's like his behavior is so cutely and so like autistic. I mean, look at Elon. Elon's there with his phone. This is China, bro. You're not supposed to share footage. Elon's there with his phone on the look at this. Elon taking videos, bro. I mean, just look at Elon. He's like a kid. And then you also get Elon, like, I mean, this is amazing, right? Elon has like 12 kids, right? So Elon has like 12 kids, and it's amazing that the one that you always see him taking to business meetings and stuff like that is X, right? This is X. This is his son X. So X is actually with him in China, and he was wearing a Chinese outfit. I mean, like insane to know. I mean, he has 12 kids, and his. I had dinner with Musk in Lisbon, and she told me like she spoke to me about what it's like to be Elon's mom, etc., etc. And I mean, he's got 12 kids, and X is the one that you always see in like public meetings and stuff like that. And then you can see the Chinese people are taking photos of him. They're like taking selfies with him. And Tim Cook took a selfie with him. And Elon's pulling these like faces like a kid. Like, it's just weird. This is the richest guy in the world by far. Actually, on my Instagram, let me just quickly get my Instagram up here to make sure that I've got the right account in here. Show you something on my Instagram. I posted something earlier today. You can follow me at Cryptomanran on Instagram, of the richest people in the world. It's super interesting to see. Let me quickly just open that for you guys. Super interesting to see Elon Musk, 800 billion, and that's before SpaceX goes public. Number 2 is Larry Page. Number 3, how do you pause? Number 3, Sergey Brin, so Google. So Elon, Google. The difference between these two is like they're not even half of Elon's wealth. Sergey Brin, Google, then Amazon, then Oracle, then Meta. So right now, Zuckerberg's probably 25% of Elon Musk's wealth. Michael Dell, at 186. Then Jensen Huang. I believe that probably Jensen Huang will overtake Michael Dell. Michael Dell's probably not accruing as fast as Jensen Huang, so he'll probably go up there. The famous luxury brand family, Bernard Arnault and his family. Then the Waltons, so 2 Waltons, Rob and Jim Walton. Then Warren Buffett, 139 billion, so his wealth is about 1/6 of Elon Musk. And then it just the list goes down. And like nice to see CZ here at 110 billion, even though on the podcast with Patrick Bet-David, he basically said that number's wrong. According to this though, CZ is wealthier than Bill Gates. I mean, if that's not a big sign of new technologies and stuff like that, CZ, according to this, is wealthier than Bill Gates. Okay, so that is the China visit. Everything going well in China. All the deals are being announced. Elon's being Elon. Another thing which happens today is the Clarity Act. So today, I'm going to start off by saying that right now there's a 68% chance that the Clarity Act actually gets signed into law this year. Last night, there were 40 new amendments, or 44 new amendments by Elizabeth Warren, which, I mean, she is just trying to add things in and stuff like that. What's the process here? She made 40 amendments. There's 40 amendments coming in by Senator Warren. Let's actually find Senator. The amendment will reappeal OCC interpretive letter. Like she just put in more and more amendments. Now, the feeling is that it's going to go. So let's just talk about what actually happens here, right? It needs 60 votes. There are 53 Republicans that need to vote for, that can vote, which means they need at least 7 Democrats. But there are 3 Republicans that may actually vote against them, Hawley, Paul, and maybe Kennedy, right? So they need about 10 Democrat votes. It feels like they're going to get it done. Everyone kind of says they're going to get it done with some amendments. What to expect today at 10:30, which is in about 45 minutes or 40 minutes. Opening remarks, Senate committee will then open up and read the amendments and allow for a short debate and a vote. They'll do it till lunch, and then they'll come back after today and they'll carry on. And once, if that doesn't happen, they'll carry on tomorrow, or they'll schedule for another date. And then once that happens, so what Senate Banky will vote in the markup, then it goes to the Senate floor vote, which will take 2 to 4 weeks. Then it gets merged with the Senate Agriculture Committee version. And then there's a conference with the White House version in several weeks, and then hopefully around July 4th we actually get the Clarity Act. So we may get the Clarity Act soon. Today's a big day. We will cover it probably tomorrow because it's going to carry on for the whole of today. Lastly, Kevin Warsh is now confirmed chairman of the board of governors for the Federal Reserve. So we've got a new fair chair basically. So the next FOMC meeting, which is in June, I think it's the 17th of June, but let's have a look here, is going to be one that Kevin Warsh talks. It'll be the first time that Kevin Warsh talks. Come hell or high water, we'll be here. It's on the 17th of June. Here we go, it's on the 17th of June. By the way, looking at the rate hike or rate cut probability, is not looking good. The next move again is a rate hike. Rate hike. And then another, so a rate hike, which is basically the thing. I think that is it for today. I think we can let's just look at the bubbles. You know, one of the things that you can do, there's a game that you can actually play here. If you're a long-term investor, I wouldn't do it if you're a short-term investor, is to start thinking about what happens after Clarity Act. What are the tokens that actually start to move after the Clarity Act? So you kind of think to yourself, what are the institutions going to use when there is clarity? So like, I don't know, like you can go back and do your own thing. Probably some of the ETH layer 2s, Arbitrum, ZK Sync, which was one that we like. It's a privacy layer 2. Maybe things like Canton. There is going to be a play after the Clarity Act gets signed, because remember, right now, as the markets are pricing it, there's only there's a 32% chance the Clarity Act doesn't pass. So for institutions, that's quite a big thing. All right, let's talk about a couple of sponsors, specials, fun things that we need to do. First of all, CoinW are doing that super deposit bonus again. So you know how it works, basically. You don't tell anyone I told you this. You open an account, you deposit money, you get the highest rewards, because the higher you go up, the more you deposit, the higher the rewards you get. You trade on the rewards, you withdraw your money. Very easy system. Bitfunded are back. Prop trading, if you want to prop trade. Prop trading is when you're trading with other people's money, basically, right? So it's a funded account. So you buy one account, buy any 2 challenges and get any 2 challenges free. So you can take a thing. And then remember, if you want to be part of front runners, there's 2 specials. One for people who have been out and want back in, and one for people who are never been in and want in. Remember, if you do go into front runners, you get the 247 news terminal for free as well. So it's like a double whammy. This is open until Friday. So I shall see you guys again tomorrow. Until then, thank you for coming, and trade well, my friends.